You've been told you need 8 hours sleep, you probably don't. You've been sold trackers, supplements, $5,000 beds. And despite all of it, our sleep seems to be getting worse. 1/3 of adults don't get enough. And I'll show you later how to work out how much you actually need. Here's the thing, humans slept fine for millions of years without any sleep aids. But nobody makes money telling you that, so nobody says it. I will, because good sleep should cost almost nothing and it should be simple. The problem isn't that you've lost the ability, it's that we often get in the way. There's just a few things you need to do and a lot of things you probably should stop doing. I'm an NHS doctor and sleep coach, and I find this topic really frustrating. So let me make it as simple as it should be. How much you actually need, and why sleeping better means doing less, not more. Let's get into it. So let's start with the number everyone chases, 8 hours. You've heard it your whole life, but where does it actually come from? Well, it comes from a factory in England in 1817. A mill owner named Robert Owen was campaigning against the brutal working day up to 16 hours a day, and he coined a slogan to fight for something better. 8 hours labour, 8 hours recreation, 8 hours rest. That's where 8 hours came from, a 200-year-old campaign for workers' rights. No science behind it. So what does the science now actually say? Well, researchers have followed millions of people for decades, tracking how long they sleep and how long they live. And when you plot it out, you get a U-shaped curve. Too little sleep raises your risk, but so does too much, and I'll come back to that later. The lowest point, the sweet spot, isn't at 8 hours, it's closer to 7. But importantly, that 7 is just an average across millions of people. Your body might need 6.5, it might need 8. Sleep need does vary between people. It depends on your age, your underlying health, and genetics. There is no magic number that's right for everyone, and chasing one is the first mistake. So how much do you actually need? Well, I have an app that you can buy for $15. Only joking, the answer is free and simpler than you'd think. Here's the answer. You judge your sleep by one thing, how you feel the next day. That's it. That's what sleep is for. If you wake most days feeling rested and you're alert throughout the day without fighting to stay awake, you're getting enough, whatever the number was. Now that sounds almost too simple, so let me show you why it's actually the only thing you can trust. Firstly, no device can tell how much you need. It can suggest the average for most people, but there is striking variability in what I might need versus what you might need. Second, you're a poor judge of how much sleep you get. When researchers compare what people think they slept against what's actually measured, most of us get it wrong. For many, we get on average 30 to 60 minutes less than we think. Third, your watch isn't much better. They are a decent estimate but prone to inaccuracy, especially on sleep stages. Listen, even two trained experts scoring the same night in a laboratory with far more sophisticated equipment only agree about 80% of the time. And fourth, and the most surprising of all, what you believe about your sleep changes how you feel, regardless of how you actually slept. Researchers proved this. They monitored people's sleep, then the next morning they told them how well they'd slept. But the feedback was fake, handed out at random, and the people told they'd slept badly, even though they hadn't, performed worse all day. More tired, slower, foggier. Their actual sleep hadn't changed, they just believed they hadn't got enough. Think about what that means for the watch on your wrist. It can hand you a bad score for sleep that was perfectly fine, and that number alone can ruin your day. So you cannot rely on a watch, you cannot rely on yourself to estimate how much you got. So trust how you feel. It's the only accurate measure. So that's one reason watches can be harmful for sleep, but for some they can do even more damage. Here's one of the most important takeaways from this entire video. You cannot force sleep to happen. Think about it. If I offered you £1,000 to fall asleep in the next 60 seconds, you couldn't do it, even at night time. The effort to sleep would almost guaranteed keep you awake. Sleep isn't something you do, it's something you allow to happen. One sleep scientist I interviewed described it as abandoning wakefulness. You don't actively sleep, you let go of being awake. The moment you chase it, you're doing the opposite. You're reaching, straining, thinking. You're keeping yourself awake by trying. And there's a name for it, orthosomnia. People so fixated on getting perfect sleep that the anxiety itself wrecks it. The harder they chase the number, the worse they sleep. The more gadgets and technology they use, the more anxiety is created, and anxiety is the greatest sleep disruptor of all. So for some people, sleep trackers and other gadgets might simply be adding to your worries and actually harming your sleep more than helping. Here's the reassuring part. Your body is really good at getting the sleep it needs if left alone without interference. We've evolved this way. The problem is rarely that the body has forgotten how to sleep, it's that we get in the way of it. So if you do suffer with sleep issues, what should you do? Well, the key to great sleep for most people is to simply remove what is blocking it. Here are the key things to help. Firstly, remove chaotic sleep. So your body runs on a clock, in fact, trillions of them, and it sleeps best when those clocks are steady and aligned. The single most powerful action for good sleep is regularity. Going to bed and getting up at approximately the same time every day. Studies show regular sleepers live longer, and it is more important than even the amount you get. So you're not forcing anything, you're simply allowing your body clocks to align naturally. And I've done a separate video on this, link at the end. Then remove things that sabotage good sleep. That afternoon coffee that is still in your system at midnight, keeping you awake. That glass of wine that feels like it helps you drift off, but it wrecks the second half of your night. And over time, try to phase out those sleeping tablets you think you need that sedate you but aren't giving you good quality sleep. And the biggest block of all, a busy mind. If you're tossing and turning thinking about all the work you have to do the next day, that's not a sleep issue. As one of the world's leading sleep specialists told me, most people don't have a sleep problem, they have a stress problem. So the real work happens before your head hits the pillow, learning to leave your worries in the daytime and avoid taking them to bed, winding down properly, building a calmer association with your bedroom. And notice what's not on that list. No gadgets, no supplements, in fact, no expense at all. For most people, clearing those blocks is enough. I'll do some follow-up videos where I go into some of these actions in more detail. Click subscribe so you don't miss those. Until then, if you have any questions, put them in the comments and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. But if your sleep is genuinely broken, if you've been fighting it for months, despite the actions I've just mentioned, then you need one more thing, and it's not a stronger pill. In fact, sleeping pills are one of the worst long-term answers we have. If that sounds like you likely have insomnia, and the gold standard treatment is something called CBT-I, cognitive behavioural therapy for insomnia. Put simply, after weeks and weeks of poor sleep, the issue has become primarily psychological. You begin to anticipate bad sleep before you even get into bed. Your brain starts to associate your bedroom with stress and struggle, so even being there creates a stress response. And sleep despises stress. Your body evolved to prevent you sleeping when you are stressed as a protective mechanism. So CBT-I retrains that, essentially a series of steps working on your mind and how you think, helping return you to that person who is relaxed and lets sleep happen. It does take a little effort at first. You need to rebuild new ways of thinking, but the evidence is really strong. Every major sleep authority recommends it as the #1 treatment. It works better than sleeping pills in the long run, and unlike pills, the benefit lasts after you stop. Now, there are many ways to access CBT-I, including books, apps, face-to-face sessions. I do happen to have my own online course, link in the pinned comment below. So here's the bottom line. 8 hours was never a medical fact. It was a factory slogan. There's no magic number. Your body knows how much it needs, enough to feel rested the next day, and it knows how to get it. Your only job is to not get in its way. Make your sleep regular, avoid stimulants, leave your stress in the daytime. And if sleep remains a genuine struggle despite these steps, look up CBT-I. It's the real evidence-based fix. That link to my video on sleep regularity is on screen now, and click subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming videos on health and longevity. No hype, just actual science and practical tips. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, take care.